What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Okay, this one I think you guys know where it's gonna lead because, well, it's obvious. But yes, D-Generation X, we're gonna make the 2006 DX real soon. I have to cover this one, and I was actually gonna make the reforming of DX video in this one, but as you can see here, well, I don't think I got enough time. What if took away from this video, from this feud, basically? So, say I did make the DX video, what if taken away from the Michaels and Vince feud? And I don't want that to happen, because that's a feud we could cover in itself, and that's what I'm doing here today. So yeah, Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, their story, their feud, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do. The video after this one, if you guys really want it, like, hit the like button, is going to be DX. So yeah, if this video gets, you know what? Let's not say if this video gets, just hit the like button. That's all I want to see. I don't think I can make the whole run in one video. It might be the McMahon's thing. Then after that, we'll talk about the Rated RKO thing and how they split. I think that's how we're going to do it. After that, we'll go with 97-2000 and the 2009-10 run, which is like off. It was off for many reasons. Matches, though, they were awesome, and they're best matches, I'd say. So yeah. Okay, for me to cover this one, we got to go back to December of 2005. Now, at this point, Shawn Michaels, well, he started to have issues with the wrong people. Triple H was still a heel, and he finally took a break from the main event scene, but everyone knew that eventually he was going to try to reclaim his throne. Anyways, on the December 26, 2005 episode of Raw, Mr. McMahon decided to pay tribute to Bret the Hitman Hart. Check out my last video if you haven't, and if you're interested. And he decided to stick it to the Hitman for the 100th time. Throughout the night, Vince watched the Bret Hart DVD and offered his opinion. He's marking out over the screwdriver, as you can see here, and he decided to walk out to the ring and give his review of the DVD. So he's in the ring. He showed Bret's opinion towards the screw job, and as Vince was rambling on, Shawn Michaels decided to interrupt. Vince obviously introduced him to the best of his abilities because he was involved. He was his partner in crime in Montreal. Shawn tried telling Vince something in his ear, and this rubbed the boss the wrong way. HBK was forced to say it on the mic, and he said that while he would do what he did again if he was placed in that position back in 97, that is because he was loyal to the company, and it was the right thing to do. But it's another thing for Vince to just live in that day. Simply put, HBK told him to just let it go. He asked if they should grow up, and this certainly stuck in Vince's mind. The boss said that every one of the legends in the past moved on, and the one name that lasted through time was McMahon. Vince asked Shawn if he wants to be one of those names, and he threatened HBK, telling him that he'll make him move on. He'll forcefully make him move on. It's simple. There's no WCW now, and there's nowhere for you to go. He straight up told Shawn that he's expendable. He's like everyone else in the arena, and not even the wrestlers. He's like everyone else. And from now on, Vince refused to take crap from anyone. He admitted that he screwed Bret Hart before threatening Shawn with the same outcome. Shawn Michaels took off his blazer, teasing a fight, but it never happened. Over the next couple of weeks, Boss Man was looking to stick it to Shawn Michaels, and it was subtle in a way. For example, when Shawn Michaels faced Kane, Vince placed a stipulation that if HBK lost, then he's out of the Elimination Chamber, and he can't use the super kick, his weapon, during that match. And whenever Vince approached him backstage, he tried to place the blame on Shawn Michaels. And the way he tried to punish HBK, he did it in a polite way, and one night, after HBK saved his own career in a match against Kurt Angle, Shawn was escorted right out of the building. So much for loyalty, I guess. And during all of this, Shawn Michaels was undefeated. Vince was asking the question of when is your luck gonna run out? Shawn called him out on this, and he even apologized if he upset the boss so much. Like, he realized that Vince was angry, and he said, you know what, I'm sorry if I pissed you off. It's as simple as that. Vince started to go crazy. He's talking about having more money than the fans and God. He then said that he's going to turn this company back to when the business was wild. He wanted the all-night parties, the give no damn lifestyle. And he then asked HBK if he wants to join him, or does he want to be that loving father, the peaceful one. Basically, explanation. Vince wanted that Shawn Michaels that was by his side in the mid-90s, that crazy HBK. But Michaels himself refused to go back. He even said never. Vince then proclaimed Shawn's luck runs out at the Royal Rumble, and he guaranteed it. And yeah, about that, at the Rumble, HBK managed to get through the heels that wanted to eliminate him, and damn what a super kick that was. Poor Shelton. After this, Vince was fed up and decided to take matters into his own hands. He stood at ringside, and just as Michael stared at him, all of a sudden, Shane McMahon from out of nowhere eliminated the Heartbreak Kid. HBK tried to get to Shane, but Triple H was there. The game got a super kick for his efforts, and Michaels chased down the Boy Wonder. The next night on Raw, Vince reflected on the Rumble, and he was in a festive mood. The guarantee happened, and as Vince was speaking, Michaels then came out and straight up told the boss that he wants to kick his teeth down his throat, but Mr. Zero Tolerance wanted to fire him on the spot. He threatened to fire him. Vince had a smile on his face when HBK said that. because basically Vince was untouchable. Shawn Michaels believed that he should turn the other cheek and leave, but knowing Vince, he'll sue him for breach of contract. So there's only one other choice. Return the old HBK, the one that pops pills, the one that's political, all of that. But for the love of his wife and children, it will never happen. Vince stated that Michaels at this point is even more screwed than Bret Hart. Shawn then said that he wants to appeal to Vince from a business standpoint, so he laid out the challenge. Vince McMahon and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. The fans were loving this idea, and HBK tried to push the boss over the edge, stating that he's not sure if he'll accept the match. He mocked the boss, the grapefruits thing, and Michaels asked if those grapefruits are all shriveled up. After bringing the US government to their knees, Vince is afraid of Shawn Michaels. All of that stuff that he did in his lifetime, he's gonna be scared of this guy? The boss wanted things on his terms and conditions, and he didn't accept the challenge. Instead, he allowed Shawn to commit career suicide. All he's got to do is hit the boss. Now, Vince was willing to fire HBK and sue him to just show how petty he was, and he was putting so much effort into getting HBK to do something. Well, before he did, Shane McMahon with a steel chair from behind blasted the Heartbreak Kid. This Bret Hart thing was living in his mind, and it was unlike anything else in storyline in a way. For example, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He wasn't doing this kind of stuff with him. Austin used to stun him, and the next week he'd just say, "How dare you," or something like that, because Austin made him enough money. But this one, it was different. The Hitman thing, it was something else. As for Shane, he did this because he wanted HBK to respect the McMahon family. They ran right the hell out of there, and they made it seem like they weren't worried, but we all knew they were. The following week, Shawn Michaels was set to face Big Show in a WrestleMania tournament, but that match never commenced. Why? Well, the human roadblock, Vince McMahon, came out and resorted to his passive-aggressive behavior. He wasn't going about this thing straight up. He removed HBK from the match, and he decided to allow Shawn Michaels to walk out on his contract. As a matter of fact, he insisted, because the next week, he booked a Shawn Michaels retirement ceremony, and Michaels has to appear. It's mandatory. You suck chants intensified, and McMahon said that since Shawn is retiring this week, he's been replaced in this match. Shawn was irate. He tried going after the boss, but he was unsuccessful. As for how the mandatory retirement went, well, it didn't go in Vince's favor. Shawn wasn't exactly excited to be out there. Vince was purposely losing money in order to spite one of his employees. HBK chants intensified, and Vince was sticking to it. "You're not happy, blah, blah, blah." Vince then brought out the Spear Squad, and instead of having the entire roster come out and shake HBK's hand, the Spear Squad did a cheer. They said something about HBK "You'll headline the unemployment line." The papers were then brought out, and Vince demanded Shawn sign the papers. HBK chants were loud and clear, and Shawn straight up said that he doesn't want to retire and Vince wants to censor him. He called for the guys to shut off HBK's mic. He once again asked Shawn to sign the papers. It seemed like he was about to hit him, "Sign the papers, sign the papers." And just as Michaels was about to put pen to paper, the crowd was loudly chanting his name, and he had second thoughts. He slowly stood up and straight up refused. Vince said that nobody says no to him before Michaels snatched that mic out of his hand. Shawn loudly said that he couldn't do it, and yes, he knows he said it previously, but he just can't. He can't walk away from the ring. He couldn't walk away from these people, and walking away from them would be walking away from one of the greatest joys he's ever seen. Vince, like a madman, and explained why he's doing this, and it's because Michaels has something he wants, something that money can't buy, and that is inner peace. Michaels knows who he is and what he wants. And Vince, the only thing he knows is that he's got an insatiable appetite for life. Seriously though, Ted McMahon is crazy. He said that he's living with the stress of his company, the stockholders, the WWE studios. He's under a hell of a lot of pressure. But Michaels, he's going to make it better for him when he signs those papers. He straight up told Michaels that he hates people like him because he wants what people like HBK have, but he can't have it. Once again, the boss demanded HBK sign the papers, and Shawn didn't do that. Instead, he tore those papers in half, and Vince responded with a slap, and HBK was starting to go berserk. It was getting started. That's what I'm trying to say. The boss walked out of there and to the back, but before he did, he let Michaels know that he's opened up the floodgates to his own personal hell. In the coming weeks, Vince sent the Spear Squad to go after Michaels when Marty Jannetty made his return. They cleared house, and Vince, he got an idea. The idea, he wanted to give Marty Jannetty a WWE contract, but he's gotta kiss his ass. Man, this guy, he's pettier than 50 Cent. As for how that went down, well, it was ridiculous. Beforehand, Shawn Michaels confronted Marty about this and tried to convince him not to do it. Jannetty actually considered doing this as he did have a car, a place to live in, so he preferred for Michaels to just stay out of this. Later that night, Shawn Michaels approached Vince about this, and he told him that Jannetty doesn't have to be involved. Now, Why did Vince do this? He had a sense of power to him since Raw was in Washington, D.C., and he believed that Jannetty kissing his ass is a symbol of power. He shouted at Michaels and let him know not to get involved, and if he does, he too could be a member of the Kiss My Ass Club. As for how that went down, Vince literally pulled his pants down. Yes, this guy, a billionaire, I don't know if he was a billionaire at the time, but yeah, a billionaire, pulling his pants down on live TV where 3 to 4 million people watched him live. Is there any other billionaire that's willing to do this? I don't know. Jannetty didn't go through with it, and Vince decided to bring out the masterpiece. This was option B. All Jannetty had to do was escape. No, break the master lock. This was a setup, and Masters literally tried sticking his face in the boss's butt. HBK cleared house, and Vince's pants were down. What the hell? No context. What would you be thinking? You're flipping channels, and you see this. What are you going to say? Anyways, Shane McMahon ambushed Shawn and delivered a wicked steel chair shot. Seeing as Shawn is aching to fight on McMahon, he gets to face Shane at Saturday night's main event. Shane then gave Vince a bright idea and they executed it. What the hell? Come on. They literally had him kiss his ass on live TV. Unexplainable to me. And HBK now, he's got to not kiss Vince McMahon's ass. Vince then said that Shawn kissed his ass, and at WrestleMania, he's gonna kick his. So the match was made. Vince McMahon versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22. On the March 6, 2006 episode of Raw, Vince McMahon boosted his own ego. Shawn did try doing something about this, and he did get a piece of Shane, but for tonight, well, he's gonna face Shane McMahon, the same guy he's facing at Saturday night's main event. Shane questioned Vince's mindset as he wasn't ready to face Shawn. But, just like Brian Kendrick, Vince was a man with a plan. Later that night, Shawn Michaels in the back spoke to Stephanie, who was pregnant at the time, and she tried to make amends with Shawn. She didn't approve of her family's behavior. She apologized for this and she felt some pain in her stomach. So she asked Shawn to bring her a water. In his time away, she stuck something in Michaels' drink and played the innocence game. Michaels took a sip of the spiked water. I guess he's screwed. So Shane comes out casually when the match began, and he wasn't happy to be out there, but his father insisted. As for Shawn, he was all good. Well, for now. He was out there delivering a beating to the Boy Wonder, and just like 2020, it all started to kick in. Slowly, he began losing focus. The spiked drink was doing a number on him, and Shane's punches weren't helping either. And guess what? Shane won. I mean, technically, it's a clean victory. Shane celebrating, and Vince decided to have an impromptu match against Shawn Michaels. He covered HBK, and that was it. The Spear Squad made their way out there and picked up the Conquering Heroes. So, what are they going to do now? Go to Disney World? The following week, the McMahons demanded that Michaels take a drug test. He claimed that Michaels became disoriented after the match, not during it, and he wanted a public urination test to take place here tonight. Shane was acting innocent, like, is this guy clean? Blah, blah, blah. And Vince also claimed that Michaels besmirched the good reputation of the WWE. So Michaels came out in a bad mood. The boss knew exactly what was going down. It was obvious. Shane called Shawn a liar, a hypocrite, and a disgusting junkie. Joey Styles was appalled with these statements, and Vince said that if HBK is a junkie, then he's suspended, and he'll forfeit both of those matches. Vince then expected the damn cup. I don't even know why. And as for Shane, he refused to trust the junkie. That's what he called him. So Vince asked for the doctor to observe Michaels urinating. Vince then delivered a public service announcement. He told the kids that if they're users, then they're losers. And he cited Shawn Michaels. You know, don't be like him. The return of the asshole chant was there, and Vince and Shane asked Shawn if he wants to say something to his family. Shane stuck it to him once again, stating that he should have just said no. Michaels' statement, well, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. And the way Vince reacted to it, it was like he got shot. And that smile, it gets me. It's like a mission complete. As a result of this incident, he wanted to do something to the rotten bastard. He booked Shawn in a match against the entire Spear Squad, and it's inside a steel cage. The 5 men decimated Shawn, but that wasn't the story of the match. Shawn actually kicked their ass, and just as he was about to escape, freaking Shane leveled Michaels by brutally slamming the cage door against him. This gave the squad the victory, and Shane continued the assault afterwards. He left Michaels bloodied, battered, and beaten. In the end, he hit coast to coast, and yeah, that's how it was that night. Shane had some blood on his shirt, and heading into Saturday night's main event, it was Shane McMahon who had the advantage. As for how it went down Saturday night, well, it was fun. A street fight that knew no limits. Shawn brought the fight to Shane. There was this crazy-ass spot, and the match itself, it wasn't bad. You might enjoy it if you've never seen it before, maybe. If you like Shane McMahon's matches, this one is definitely one of his better ones. At one point, Shane accidentally smashed a trash can in his father's face. They went back and forth. Michaels began his comeback. He built momentum, body slam, flying elbow, and then it was time to tune up the band. Boom! Sweet chin music. The boss decided to eject the referee right out of the match. Shawn finally got his hands on Vince, and just as he was about to do something, Shane low-blowed him, and the crowd was silenced. Shane then locked Shawn in the sharpshooter, and Vince ordered the timekeeper to ring the bell, and he ordered Lillian Garcia to announce Shane has won the match by submission. And JR was right. Shawn has been castrated of his dignity. On the March 20th, 2006 episode of Raw, Vince McMahon had a wild celebration. Like, just look at this. Vince is vibing, he's basking it all in, and in the ring, Shane said that wins and losses are all that matter, and on Saturday, Shawn lost. The fans chanted, "You suck," as Shane announced the record, the McMahon's 3, Shawn Michaels 0. Shane claimed that it will be 4-0 after WrestleMania 22. He said that his old man is going to annihilate Shawn at his biggest creation yet, WrestleMania. Vince answered this, stating that his kids were actually his greatest creations. They hugged. The fans chanted, "Asshole, asshole." Vince then spoke about Michaels' love for his faith, his family, and he claimed that it will be contaminated when he beats Michaels at WrestleMania. He then announced that the match will be no holds barred. Later that night, Shawn Michaels was booked to face Shane and Triple H in a handicap match. John Cena eventually made the save until the egomaniac booked himself in a match against the champ himself. As for how that match went, it was nothing more than a setup, a way of softening up both John Cena and Shawn Michaels before WrestleMania. As for the match itself at WrestleMania, a sleeper hit. Beforehand, though, Shawn Michaels was interviewed by the coach. He mentioned his past shows here, and now this year, he doesn't expect a 5-star classic. He said that tonight is going to be violent, brutal, and it's going to get ugly. He said that Vince isn't going to get Shawn Michaels of 1995, and neither HBK of 2006. He's just going to go down there, and he wants Vince to get on his knees, pray to the God above to save him, and he is not going to be saved because he's going to endure his own personal hell. Basically, if you didn't understand, Shawn Michaels, it was a different kind for tonight. As for McMahon, he had a big ego. He did something unimaginable, and that is pray. Like, Vince praying is something I don't think I've ever even heard of at all. His prayer, well, it was different. He straight up told God that he defied every law and he succeeded despite them, and he isn't close with the Lord like Shawn Michaels. He said that he's going to send Shawn Michaels to the fiery depths of hell, and then he shouted, "Hallelujah." As for the match itself, it was unexpectedly good. The story is simple. Vince wanted to live in the past. I screwed Brett, and he didn't want anyone to tell him what to do, as he was the boss. He said that he answers to no one. As for HBK, he moved on. He wasn't the same person he was previously, and this annoyed Vince. He wanted the HBK from 1995, but the man himself was at peace, and this, once again, was irritating for the boss. Michaels was content with himself, and that wasn't enough for McMahon. He wanted the inner peace too, but he just can't have it. That's the story. Anyways, during the match, Vince was stroking his ego. This will always be funny. The Spear Squad made idiots of themselves. HBK easily got rid of them. Vince got an ass whooping. Shane assisted his father. He was thrown into his father's ass, and the way Vince sold it, oh man, it's hilarious. Shane was handcuffed and he received a hilarious ass whooping too. You couldn't feel any sympathy for the McMahons as they were absolutely remorseless, and plus, they brought this on themselves. Vince bled like a stuck pig, and at this point, there was no doubt HBK was winning. Shane witnessed a beating likes we have seen. To top it all off, Shawn Michaels climbed the ladder, and before he did, he had second thoughts. So Shane, he applauded Michaels' decision, and instead HBK blasted him in the face and brought out an even taller ladder. Shane was like, "You serious? Like, come on." Shawn actually put a trash can right over Vince's head. He climbed up there and he did the DX crotch chop before diving right onto McMahon, and that wasn't it, as Shawn Michaels did another crotch chop, but this time to Shane before spitting on him. Michaels then wrapped it up with a mean-looking sweet chin music. Damn, that was fun. I used to watch this match a lot on the WrestleMania 22 DVD as a kid, so it was fun to go back and see it again. After the match, Vince flipped HBK, and Michaels was like, "Toodles." And McMahon, in JR's words, was Satan-like, and looking at this match, HBK had to go back to his old self in order to end it. He didn't want to be that guy again, but Vince pushed him to the edge, and he had to do something about it. That's why this match was great. The action was entertaining. Shawn Michaels teased the DX reunion, and Triple H did so later that night too. There was some hilarious stuff, and shockingly, it didn't end HBK Shawn Michaels a streak of great WrestleMania matches. It might have not been match of the night to many, but it was certainly another great match under Michaels' belt. On the April 3rd episode of Raw, Shawn Michaels was finally comfortable. He came out to discuss his WrestleMania victory. He was happy not to deal with Vince McMahon anymore and that orange-tinted body, and unlike Vince, he can move on. He said that he'd heard people wanting to beat up John Cena, and he decided, I want to get involved. But then Shane McMahon interrupted. As you can see here, he had a traumatized look on his face. HBK introduced him as the newest member to join the Mr. McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Shane then introduced his father, who was hurting bad. He was playing the sympathy card. He shut down any chance of HBK getting a title shot, and he said that he's got 2 words for him. Michaels, though, had 2 words of his own. And he didn't exactly say them, but the fans did, and DX chants intensified. As for McMahon's 2 words, they were divine intervention. Vince said that Michaels had help from God, and it was essentially a handicap match. Michaels didn't know if it was the meds talking or Vince has finally gone insane. He said that Shawn couldn't beat the McMahons, he'll never win the war against them, and he then announced a match for Backlash. Shawn Michaels and God Almighty, against Vince himself and the product of his semen? What? Shane McMahon, oh my God, good Lord. Why the hell did he call him that? He himself, he had this weird look on his face like, what? What? That beating must have affected Vince a little too much. And if you thought this was crazy, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. On the April 10th, 2006 episode of Raw, Vince and Shane visited church. Shane was a bit reluctant with this, as he was worried. Just at the check-in, Vince didn't know anything. Upon opening the door, Vince tried washing his hands, and Shane stopped him there, like, what are you doing? Instead, he took a page out of his son, his in-law's book, and spat the holy water. What the hell? Then he started comparing himself to God. He created WWE, the Lord created Earth, he created Adam and Eve, and Vince, created Austin and Rock. He was comparing himself to God. And he also believed that he had a stronger work ethic. And while Vince is shouting stuff, Shane was a bit worried. Then Vince brought out some kind of passage of his, thou shalt not jump off a ladder, something like that. And he then asked for Shane to recite a prayer. Shane was saying something about Mr. McMahon's tanned body supersedes any 60-year-olds. And he said something about semen, and he stopped right there. He was like, you know what, screw it. Vince then shouted that he will unleash the apocalypse on Shawn Michaels, and he said that if he's lying, then may God strike it upon him. And at that moment, Shane, he took a step away from him, which gets me every time. You do what you do. I'm just with you. I don't really agree with. That's what I look at it as. Like, from my perspective, I see it as Shane, like, do what you want to do, but I don't want to get punished. I don't want to get striked too. Vince then shouted, blessed be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and there were some thunder rumblings. Man, this is one of the more out there segments I've seen in WWE, WWF history. He visited church. Vince, he was lost. He didn't know where he was, basically. Right when he opened the doors of church, it felt like a different world to him, basically. That's what I'm trying to say, because he was literally trying to wash his hands there. The following week, Vince continued to develop this new religion of his. He said that he offended Shane in a small way the previous week, and he asked the question, will Mr. McMahon go to hell? He said no, because he was there earlier this morning, and he said that his driver picked him up at the airport and he got lost. Suddenly, they ended up in East St. Louis. Oh, he got him there. Vincent said that he believes in every religion. Now he's announcing his new religion. The name, McMahonism. He said that it means he's the god of sports entertainment. And he said that it doesn't matter if it's the wrestlers or the fans, but they will have to worship him. He then said that if McMahonism existed during the time of Moses, well, he'd have his own 10 commandments. He said something about do not covet the neighbor's wife unless she's really hot. He then showed himself at the Last Supper. And, man, Vince McMahon 2006 was and is the craziest version of his character, in my opinion. He then called McMahonism the future of theology, and he said that there's one person in particular that will always remain a doubter. His name is Shawn Michaels. Vince then assured everyone that after they're finished with him, Shawn Michaels is going to worship at his feet. Once again, he said that if he's telling a lie, may God strike him down. Then Vince, he demanded a sign from God. He began praising himself when HBK super kicked the hell out of him. Well, I guess that's a sign. Later that night, Vince once again received a sign, and just as Vince was going to do something to Shawn, there was a damn explosion. McMahon at this point was just a shook one. He couldn't believe any of this. There was 3 explosions there, 2 at ringside, 1 near the stage, and he offered his rebuttal the following week on the final Raw before Backlash. He believed it was just a succession of mere coincidence. He said it has something to do with the pyrotechnics guy, and he accepted the guy's apology before firing him, which got the fans to boo him. Vince said that Shawn better hope there was an act of God at Backlash, and he then announced a match between Shane and Shawn for later that night. As for how that went, just like their previous matches, there was controversy. Shane dived off the top rope onto Shawn, and the announce team was going crazy. Vince was saying God abandoned Shawn, and the boss once again sang the praises of his name. As for their match at Backlash, not bad. Before the match, Vince tried to demonstrate some of his miracles. At least that's what it looked like to me. He managed to make loaves of bread appear from out of nowhere. Shane's water was unknowingly to him turned into wine. So I guess there's an ominous sign there. As for Shawn Michaels, he didn't want to shove his faith in everyone's throat. He said that the Lord wants him to go out there and do his best. He also said that this match is actually a handicap match. HBK said that despite the handicap match, it's still the same result. And afterwards, maybe, just maybe, he'll make Vince cry to God. Shawn then said that Lexington and himself got 2 words for the McMahons. Now, you may know that I covered the match itself in the Backlash video, so if you want to know what actually went down during the match, check out this video. Now, one thing that's memorable was the moment Vince called for God. He was saying, get jiggy with it. He was dancing. Shane was like, do what you do. I'll just stand here. Yeah, Vince, he's crazy. That's one thing for sure. Anyways, the match to me, it wasn't bad. Michaels bled profusely. Shane and Vince got their asses whooped, and overall, I was entertained. Michaels, though, he didn't win. It was actually Vince and Shane, and that was due to the Spear Squad. HBK was clearly the man of the match. He shined bright, and there was no clear-cut choice for the match of the night other than him, because of the moves he was doing, the ass-kicking, the fans cheering for him. Yeah, he's a man of the match. Clear. Uncontested. And Vince obviously bragged about this victory. He's saying he beat God. He's saying blah, 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 and obviously he loved it. As for Shawn, he continued to feud with Shane, but we're going to focus on that in the next part of this. It might be the next video. If you want it to be the next video, please hit that like button. Okay, this feud, I like it. Why? Because Shawn Michaels, he was reserved, content with himself, and Vince just wanted to bring back that old HBK, not necessarily the one that he got at WrestleMania, but the one in 1995. He wanted that HBK, the guy that, like, partied a lot, I guess. But yeah, eventually it morphed into something else, but initially Vince, he didn't want to hear someone tell him to move on. I bet you if someone actually told him that in real life right now, he'd fire their ass. Anyways, once they got the God thing, it was weird. It was weird, and Vince was going crazy, absolutely crazy, and yeah, I wouldn't say this feud's bad. It's good. It's pretty good in my opinion, so yeah. What do you guys think about this feud? Please comment down below. It's basically 2 halves. First half, Vince and Shawn, and the second, Shawn and God and Vince. So yeah, please comment down below your opinion. My opinion, it's good. McMahon was going crazy. So yeah. That's it for this video. Make sure you hit a coast to coast on the like button and perhaps the sweet chin music on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.